Good evening, this is Quintus Curtius, and this podcast is going to be about not accepting half confidences. Not accepting half confidences, and what does that mean? Well, last Saturday, that was May 14th, 2022, I wrote an essay on the leadership principles of John Paul Jones, and you can find that on my site for May 14th, 2022. And I talked about 4 major leadership principles of John Paul Jones that I got from his letters and his statements to other people of his era. And I'll briefly just go through those and then talk about the one that really is the subject of what we're talking about now. Number 1, give general objectives and let your men carry out the details as they see fit. Do not burden your men with too much specificity. Okay, tell people how to do things. Well, give people the goal of what you want them to do, but don't get into too much detail about how they should do it. Let them manage the details. All right, number 2, treat the enemy with firmness, but also with generosity and courtesy. Malice is unbecoming in a commander. In other words, don't be vindictive. Don't be vindictive. Don't be focused on pettiness and those types of negative traits, because those things will come back to bite you in the ass. Number 3, keep yourself ready for service. The good leader responds without hesitation when his country calls him. And what that means is stay fit mentally, physically, and emotionally. No matter how old you are, you never know when the call is going to come in. You never know when the balloon is going to come up. And it could be anything, any crisis, any situation like that. Now, the 4th leadership principle of John Paul Jones, I wrote out as a leader, do not accept half confidences. Either your superiors believe in you or they do not. Now, what does this mean, half confidences? Well, this is a reference to a letter that Jones wrote to Benjamin Franklin in October of 1779. And basically, this was a letter in which Jones was expressing his irritation and his anger at not having the full confidence of his superiors or of them second-guessing and doubting things that he was doing. And what he said was this: in short, while my life remains, if I have any capacity to render good and acceptable services to the common cause, no man will step forth with greater cheerfulness and alacrity than myself. But I am not made to be dishonored, nor can I accept of the half confidence of any man living. And of course, I cannot, consistent with my honor and a prospect of success, undertake future expeditions unless when the object and destination is communicated to me alone and to no other person in the marine line. Now, in that 18th century way of talking, what he's telling Benjamin Franklin is this: I'm not going to put up with being messed with. Either you believe in me, either you trust me as the commander, either you trust me as the leader, or you do not. Okay? Don't give me the job. Don't give me the task and then question and nitpick everything I do and try to override me, try to undermine me, try to do this, try to do that. And this is important. This really jumped out at me because this is something that I think all of us deal with on a daily basis in more ways than we realize. In more ways than we realize. And this is similar to what happens at work. Let's say you're at work and you're in charge of some project or some section or whatever, and you try to do things, you try to manage things, and someone's always second-guessing you, someone is always micromanaging you, trying to sow doubt, sow confusion, undermine you. You shouldn't put up with that because it comes down to disrespect. It comes down to half confidence. And you have to deal with that situation. Don't ever put up with that. Okay? You maybe give one warning and then you get rid of the person. You transfer him out, you get rid of him, you put him in his place in the way most appropriate to the situation. Okay? You have to do that because everybody needs to know that you're the man in charge. And if they don't believe in you, they're not going to take instruction from you. They have to believe in you first. And the same thing applies to people who are in professions where they have to deal with customers or they have to deal with clients. Okay? Yes, it's true you work for a client. You work for the client. But it's also true that once you've been hired, you're in charge. Okay? You're in charge, and you have to make the judgment calls. You have to make those tactical calls. You have to make those strategic calls. You have to bring to bear your knowledge, your experience, all of those years of work and effort and handling things that you've learned. That is really, really valuable when you think about it. I think too many people sell themselves short. And if you're going to have a client who's always going to be doubting you, second-guessing you, interfering with you, not really giving you the ability to control the course of events, then you don't need that. You don't need that business. You send him on his way. You send the person on their way. Okay? So it comes down to respect. It comes down to respect. And the same thing I think applies with human relations, with family, with friends, with mates. You know, the bottom line, it comes down to trust. Somebody either trusts you or they don't trust you. And if you get the sense that you're always being questioned and second-guessed and undermined, chances are your worst fears are confirmed. The person probably doesn't trust you. And if that's the case, you need to take action. And you need to call them on it. You just say to them, look, I got this. I got it. And either you have to trust me. Either you're going to let me handle this, or this is not going to work. You're going to have to go find somebody else. And most people, if they're reasonable, they will get the message. They'll get the message because sometimes people do it and they're not even conscious of it. They're letting their own anxieties, they're letting their own fears govern their behavior. But it's up to you. It's up to you as the person in charge to draw the line and set the boundaries, so that the other people will be fully aware of what lines to cross and what lines not to cross. Because you have to do it. In the old days, maybe there were sort of more courtesies. There were more people respected authority more. People understood. People were given the benefit of the doubt. But in today's world, some of these folks out there, they are literally just, were raised in a barn and they don't get it. And you're going to have to be the one to set out the boundaries, to set the limits, to enforce the boundaries, and make sure that you're being given the respect and the credit that you deserve. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to be able to get anything done. You're just not going to get anything done. So that's the message here. That's the message. Do not accept half confidences. If you're in charge, or if you're in some sort of relationship of performing work or services, either they believe in you or they do not. And if they do believe in you, they need to let you run it, let you handle it, and then at the end of it, when it's all over, they can critique, and you can have a lesson learned session, and you can learn what went right and what went wrong, and you can draw your little teaching points after that. But until that happens, you've got the job. And with authority comes responsibility. We always talk about, if you're the leader, if you're the boss, that you have a duty of loyalty to your people. You got to be loyal to them. You got to look out after them. And that's all true. But there's also a flip side to that coin. Those people that you're leading, or those individuals that you're running, they also have a duty of loyalty to you. They have to give you their loyalty. They have to give you their trust. They have to give you a chance. They have to give you a chance, and they are obligated not to constantly try to undermine you and not give you that chance that you deserve. Everybody needs a chance, and if something gets screwed up, okay, oh dear, how sad. Lessons learned, and you will take away what lessons you need from that and do better the next time, if there is a next time. But until then, do not accept half confidences. And that's all I want to say about that. This is going to be a short podcast. I'm Quintus Curtius. Good night.